Because if I catch you dozing off, I want to throw one at you. What I'll do is if I see somebody dozing off, if you have a pillow, I'll just say, hit that one in the head with it. Can y'all help me with that? Pastor Derek is an extremely encouraging man of God. He came up to me and he said, I don't know how you're going to follow all those pillows and all that stuff. And a lunch like that. He said, maybe y'all should just lay down for 20 minutes and then you could go ahead and speak. But he's extremely encouraging. Thank you very much. Well, Christine, put that first slide up. Boy, Christine, it does look pretty bad up here. All right. Ladies, I'm going to take you on a little adventure for the next 45-ish minutes. So if you will indulge me and just come along with me. If you look at that screen, you see the lion and the lioness. Stay with me. As I was asked to do this session, it's about fighting and battling for your legacy. And the Lord gave me those 3 words: fierce, focused, and fearless. So today, the Lord wants to empower you to be fierce, focused, and fearless so that you can defend your legacy. Now, just indulge me. If Jesus is the bridegroom, which he is, right? Agree? We are what? We're his bride. In Revelation, the Bible tells us that Jesus is the Lion of the tribe of Judah. What does that make us? The lioness of the tribe of Judah. I want you to say something with me real quick before we get any further. Just repeat after me. I have way more authority than I am walking in right now. Okay, let's try it again. Let it sink in. I have way more authority than I am walking in right now. Okay, try it this way. I have way more authority than I am walking in right now. All right, so we got the picture, right? Jesus, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, and the lioness is you and I. All right. The Lord wants to empower you first. We're going to talk about being fierce. And I'm not talking about the Beyonce kind of fierce. I'm talking about the woman of God who knows who her God is and knows who she is in him. That's a fierce woman of God. That's a fierce lioness. Fierce means, in some context, to be violent. What does the Bible tell us? The violent take it by force. Well, maybe some of y'all remember that. Aggressive in temperament. Marked by unrestrained zeal, intense, strong, powerful, persistent, forceful, focused, and fearless. That's what a fierce person is. 1 Chronicles 12:8 says, some brave and experienced warriors from the tribe of Gad also defected to David while he was in the stronghold in the wilderness. They were expert with both shield and spear, as fierce as lions and as swift as deer on the mountains. Okay, I'm going to reread that to you. You ready? We have any brave and experienced warriors in the room? All right. You think I should ask that again? Yeah, I think you should. Do we have any brave and experienced warriors in the room? Okay. From the tribe of the tabernacle, right? Okay. And we're following David, okay? Worshiper, David. We could do that. They were expert in both shield. What is your shield? Your shield of faith. And your spear, the sword of the Spirit. So you are experienced warriors that are expert in both the shield and the spear. And you're as fierce as a lioness. Get that picture in your mind. We are meek in the way we follow him, but fierce in the way we fight. You know, sometimes we get caught up in our ever-expanding to-do list, you know, the cares of life and stuff like that. And the Lord just wants to remind you today that he is always with you and he will never leave you or forsake you. Whether you're changing a diaper or whether you're running a business, whether you're fixing dinner or you're in the halls of your school that you go to, he is always with you. And that's how you can become the fierce lioness that he wants you to be. If you remember when Sister Dawn was talking, she talked about Billy Graham and how Billy Graham left a legacy of salvation. You know, multitudes got saved under the voice of Billy Graham. Notice that legacy that he left was not his natural bloodline, was it? It wasn't his natural bloodline. It was a legacy of salvation. You do not have to be a mom or a grandmother to leave a legacy. Some of you are leaving a legacy in your life group. Some of you are leaving a legacy at your businesses. Some of you are leaving a legacy in the different areas the people that you have influence over. You still can leave a legacy. I see there's a table here of these young women right there. And I just want you to realize that you can begin to leave a legacy at your age. And if you want to know more about it, come talk to me because we could have a long conversation about that. But you're never too young to begin leaving a legacy. You don't have to have your own natural children to leave a legacy. So everybody in this room is a lioness. Everyone in the room. Alexander the Great said, I am not afraid of an army of lions led by a sheep. I'm afraid of an army of sheep led by a lion. Keep in mind who our lion is. Now, let me talk to you a little bit about lions. I was reading a book not too long ago, and there was a story in it about several researchers were researching a pride of lions. What they did originally was put a collar around the alpha lion, and that collar allowed them to track the movements and the activities of that pride. So they had done several months of research. We'll talk a little bit more about what they found out. But the research came to the end, and the researchers went back out to get the collar off of the lion. Well, of course, when they put the collar on, they had to sedate him, you would think. When they went back, they had to sedate him again, right? So they shot the dart, sedated the lion. He kind of moved around a little bit, laid down in the grass. And the researchers, these guys got out the Jeep, and they're headed over there to take the collar off the lion. And from the side back of this lion stands up a lioness. And she stands up and she looks. She'd been laying in that grass for a long time. She stands up, and the book describes it as she began to wisp her tail around, flap her ears, and huff and puff. And she just paced back and forth in front of her lion. There was no way those men were going to get to that lion through her. So what did they have to do? They had to sedate her also, because they would never get to the collar. Now, she didn't know what they were coming for. She didn't know that they were just going to be nice to the lion. But her duty was to protect her man. Okay? She was going to protect him. And I want to say to you today, I'm going to let you read like Lisa Bevere said. Put Lisa Bevere's quote up there. You become dangerous to the enemy when you are fully awake to God. And lots of times, how do we get sedated, ladies? We get sedated by the day-to-day of all our things that we have to do. We get sedated sometimes because we're waiting on God for an answered prayer. There are things in this life that can sedate us. And then our legacy is in jeopardy. Now, I know every warrior gets weary. We all need downtime. We need boundaries. We need to help each other out when we need to. Because sometimes we just need to take a rest. And rest is good. The warrior sometimes needs not to be on the front lines. They need to come back for rest. And you know, that example right there is powerful to leave to your legacy. If your kids only see you crazed and always doing something, they're not going to learn that it's okay for the warrior to rest. So it's a good example to leave. A sedated Christian says things like this. Man, this world's just going down the drain. I mean, I can't even listen to the news anymore. It makes me sick. You know, I'm just too tired to fight anymore. That's a sedated lioness. I'm only human. I just can't help with this sin that God knows I'm just human. What about, I'll attend church when I feel like it, when I can. Yeah, there's enough people to take care of everything. They don't need me. That's a lioness that's being sedated by the cares of the world. Isaiah 52:1 says, wake up, O Zion, clothe yourself with strength. So I say to you this afternoon, wake up. Even from your lunch, I really mean it. Wake up. So what does this fierce individual look like? What does this fierce woman of God look like? Why don't you put that up there, that list? She's intense in prayer. Have you ever been around Bonnie Butchert when she starts praying? If you haven't, trust me, you want to. She gets quite intense. When she wants the enemy out of her house, she literally takes a broom and sweeps him out. No, I mean a real broom, like she does this. And she sweeps the enemy out of her house. Strong in faith, powerful in warfare, forceful in protection of her loved ones, aggressive, or you could say proactive, in her pursuit of righteousness, strategic in the plans that she lays before the Lord. That's what a fierce individual looks like. Let's take a look at one of them. We'll go to Matthew chapter 15. I love this lady. It's verses 21 through 28. Jesus left Galilee and went north to the region of Tyre and Sidon. A Gentile woman who lived there came to him pleading, have mercy on me, O Lord, son of David, for my daughter is possessed by a demon that torments her severely. But Jesus gave her no reply, not even a word. Then his disciples urged him to send her away because she was bothering them, I guess. Tell her to go away, they said. She's bothering us with her begging. Then Jesus said to the woman, how would you like this? I was sent only to help God's lost sheep, the people of Israel. Now, right there, if Jesus said that to me, I probably would just go, okay. But she didn't. She came, she worshiped him, pleading again, Lord, help me. Jesus responded, it isn't right to take food from the children and throw it to the dogs. Okay, this is Jesus. Is he calling her a dog? You know he spoke in parables all the time, right? And what he was saying there is he couldn't take the message that was supposed to be for the Israelite people and give it to a Gentile woman. She replied, that's true, Lord, but even dogs are allowed to eat the scraps that fall beneath the master's table. That's a bold woman. Dear woman, Jesus said, your faith is great. Your request is granted. And her daughter was instantly healed. That's a fierce woman. Number one, she wasn't a Jewish person. She wasn't part of the Israelite community. And then to boot, she was a woman, a Gentile woman. She had no standing before a man that wasn't her husband or her father. She had no standing, no rights to be able to do this. What motivated her? Her legacy. Her legacy, her daughter, motivated her to keep pressing in, to keep pushing, and saying, well, you know, Jesus, the dogs get to eat the scraps from under the table. Just give me a scrap of Jesus. Just give me a little bit, and I can keep going. You know, a fierce person is not, being fierce, I should say, is not conditioned on your temperament. Think about that. Now, Kelly and I can make a lot of noise, right? Kelly, we gonna come at you. And we can make noise, but that doesn't make us any more fierce than any other lioness in the room. Some of the most fierce women that I know are very soft-spoken, unlike me. Very soft-spoken. Sister Dawn is one of the most soft-spoken women I know. But I don't want her to have a bone to pick with me. And if I have a bone that I need her to handle for me, she's going to bite on it like a bulldog because she's fierce. What about little Sister Miriam Corona? We, by the way, call her the Yoda of our intercessory team. She's our little Sister Miriam. That's a fierce woman of God right there. If you've never had her pray for you, you might want to do that before you leave today. So you don't have to be loud and make a lot of noise to be fierce. You can be focused and still be fierce. Some other fierce believers. Remember the story that Jesus told when the person got a visitor at their house and they had nothing to feed them? So they went to their neighbor and said at midnight, I need some bread. I got guests and I need some bread. And the neighbor said, I'm in bed already. My whole family's in bed for the night. I'm not getting up to give you bread. And they kept knocking and knocking and knocking. And I need bread. I need you to give me bread. The neighbor got up out of his bed because of the persistence and the knocking and the continuing. I'm not leaving your front door till I get bread. That's fierce. Then one other fierce lady I want to talk about, the woman with the issue of blood. Now, we don't typically picture her as fierce, right? Because she was very sick. I would imagine very weak and very, very frail. But that woman was determined to get to Jesus at all costs. That's what fierce looks like. The second thing the Lord wants to empower you to do this afternoon is to be focused. Let's talk about the lioness again. A lioness moves with prowess and purpose. Prowess is distinguished bravery and extraordinary ability. You move in prowess. I know there are some of you in this room that can fix a meal for a group of people, and it would be like we were going to the most fine dining restaurant. You have extreme ability. Some of you in this room have extreme ability to run a business or to raise 5 children under the age of 5 all at one time. That's brave or crazy, I'm not sure. Brave. And you have purpose. You've heard already from 2 speakers about being intentional, about intentionality in what you do. Let's take a look at what we need to do. One of the things the lioness does when she's focused is she stays accountable. Look around you. Look at the people that you're sitting with. And by the way, just ask them if they smell good. Are you giving off a good fragrance this afternoon? Psalms 15, 1-5 says, who may worship in your sanctuary, Lord? Who may enter your presence on your holy hill? Those who lead, listen, who? Those who lead blameless lives and do what is right, speaking the truth from sincere hearts. Those who refuse to gossip and harm their neighbors or speak evil of their friends. Ooh, ladies. Those who despise flagrant sinners and honor the faithful followers of the Lord and keep their promise even when it hurts. Those who lend money without charging interest and who cannot be bribed to lie about the innocent. Such people will stand firm forever. At our table discussion after the last session, we were talking about honoring. And one of the ladies said, defend that person. Ladies, don't come in agreement with one sister against another. Lionesses don't even do that. When a lioness has a litter of cubs, she has to stay with those cubs and nurse them and keep them very close to her. They're actually underneath her almost all the time till they reach a certain age. So the other lionesses in the tribe do the hunting and the killing and the guarding of the tribe, while she has time with those infants. That's working together. Lions are the only animals in the cat family that live in community like that. They work with one another. Is that what we're going to do for each other? When one needs downtime, how about we help bring a meal to the house if that person needs some downtime, needs some help. We need to be sisters that don't agree against each other, but we agree for each other. A lioness is also consistent. There's an old Latin phrase, and it simply says, repetition is the mother of learning. You know, where you do something over and over again, you typically get better at it. You may not get to be the best at it, but the more you do it, the easier it comes to you. The more you model the behavior that you want to see repeated in your legacy, the better you get at it, and the better they see it. Being a good model. Consistency over and over again. The consistency in the example we leave through our legacy forges a deep tunnel of heritage, principle, wisdom, and guidance. Be consistent. And I know, we go through times where we get emotional, or we go through times where we're genuinely hurt, or we're genuinely having an issue that we have to deal with. And like Mia said, it's how we react to those times that teach our line, our legacy line. It speaks volumes how we react to those things. Be consistent in your reaction to things. And when you mess up, it's okay to go back to your children, or to go back to your life group. Go back to your friends at work or at school and say, I messed up. When I said that, when I did that, that wasn't right, and I just want to apologize. Do you know what kind of lesson, what volume even that teaches? A lioness is also strategic. I told you a few minutes ago that that lioness was laying in the grass. They don't know even how long she was laying there. And the lioness, they do this in 2s and 3s. They'll lay in the grass and wait when they're hunting. And they wait for the right time, the right animal, and the right place. There are times when one lioness will go and strike an animal, but not kill it. And then 2 other lionesses will come and finish the job. They're very, very strategic, very, very motivated and planned. Even the researchers were astonished that you talk about schedules. The lioness, typically, they would play with the cubs. They would play with their young at a certain time of the day. Then, of course, they'd feed them at a certain time of the day. They'd hunt certain times of the day. They almost were going by a schedule. But it was natural to them. They were strategic. We want to be strategic in prayer, of course. We all know that. I think all of us know that. But let's say what kind of things we need to be praying about. Do you have that list? Is there the list? The first thing, identifying the spirits that are operating in your legacy line. Identify the spirits that are operating in your legacy line, whether your kids are teeny tiny or whether they're grown. My son Cody used to battle the spirit of fear when he was little. The first thing was that he was afraid that a robber was going to come in. And I didn't know this till a while later. He was sleeping with a bat under his mattress. So that if a robber came in, now he was probably 7-ish, 8, that if a robber came in, he could beat him up with the bat. This is how the fear was gripping him. As he got a little older, he was in middle school at CCA. CCA? Anybody remember CCA? Yeah. Whoop, whoop. Well, they were reading, what's those end time books? Can't remember the name of them. Left Behind. Well, guess what Cody thought was going to happen? Cody was going to get left behind. He would wake up in the middle of the night and come in and make sure me and my husband were still there. So, I mean, it broke my heart. But I had to identify the spirit that was operating that was tormenting him, and I had to address it. And to be real honest, little Chris, well, I call him little Chris because he's little, but he's Pastor Chris around here. We had a mini encounter in my living room. And Chris took authority over the spirit of fear over Cody while we stood there and agreed. And Cody was delivered in my living room from the spirit of fear. And let me tell you, now that he's an adult and he has 2 children of his own, that spirit of fear still tries to rise its head up. And you know what it looks like now? It looks like anxiety. It looks like, oh, I don't know if I can do this or I can get this done. But he knows what it is. And he's able to say, I know, it's that fear trying to come. And he takes authority over it himself now. We need to pray and come against generational curses in our line. A lot of you know my family. My husband's grandfather died of a heart attack in his 40s. My husband's father died at 63, I think it was, of a heart attack. And my husband deals with severe heart disease. Well, I sure as heck don't want that visiting Chris, Cody, or Cliff. So we attended about 100 encounters. We've dealt with it. But we're believing and we're all standing that generational thing is not going to visit them. Let me tell you, Cody used to be the pickiest eater in the world, and now he's eating vegetables. His wife is be thankful for that, Shay. He's eating better because he wants to take care of himself so that his outcome is not only spiritually better, but physically better. Then we need to wage war against the flesh. Whose flesh? Our flesh. We had a discussion at our round table. We were at a rectangle table. We were in a round table discussion, but we were talking about warring about wanting to tell our children we can see them making a bad decision, and we want to say no, you got to do it this way, and this way. That's what we want to do, but sometimes we can't. We have to put our flesh down and say, just bite your knuckles and pray that they make a good decision. Because we can't always affect it. We can't always be in charge. We have to watch our own flesh. And you know what? If you remember, when Christine was speaking, where's Christine? Oh, back there. When she was speaking, did you notice that every time she talked like God was saying something to her, she whispered? I don't know if y'all noticed that, but she'd be like, and God said, she whispered. Well, you know what? I want to hear the whisper of the Lord. And the closer we are to him, that's when we hear the whisper. You can't hear that at a distance, can you? Ladies in the back. So you're not going to hear the whisper of the Lord when you're at a far distance. You're only going to hear his whisper when you're close. Now, I don't care if you have children. It doesn't really matter. You might babysit a child, and say that child gets hurt or that child is afraid. You pick the child up and you go, oh, baby, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay, hon. It's going to be fine. Don't be afraid. We don't do that. We whisper, don't we? You want to hear the whisper of the Lord? Let's get closer to him. You've heard also a few times to be intentional. Well, there's a very intentional principle in the Word of God. And you might know that principle in Galatians 6:7. Some of you may be able to quote it. You always reap what you sow. Right? We sow, and then we reap. In my experience, sowing and reaping lots of time is almost like a afterthought. Like, oh man, why is this happening? Oh girl, you reaping what you sowed. Almost like it just happens. And we think, oh wow, yeah, Okay. Or maybe it is even something good. Man, this is awesome. Oh, you're reaping what you sowed. Almost like it's an accident. I want to challenge you today, ladies. It doesn't matter whether you have children or not, or how old you are, how young you are, whether your kids are serving God or not. I want you to begin sowing what you want to reap. Sow what you want to reap. I'll give you an example. If you want to if you want to reap a successful business, what do you need to plant? If you don't know what you need to plant, you can talk to Cindy Meyer because she's a successful businesswoman. We've got a few of them in here. Find out what you need to start planting if you want to be a successful businesswoman. Do you want your children to be godly men and women of God? What do you need to start planting right now? Start planting what you want to reap. And sometimes you have to plant different things in the soil because we're not sure exactly what kind of soil it is. And when your children are young, or when you first meet somebody, a new person in your life group, you're not sure about their background, sure about what God has for them or what God's purpose is for their life. So you got to kind of sow some different things in. Hey, would you like to come help with the food that we're preparing? Oh, no, I don't cook. Well, then you're not necessarily going to sow those seeds there. I was thinking the other night, if you want to sow a doctor, you want to reap a doctor in your family? What do you have to start sowing? Science and math. And if the soil that you're sowing in doesn't have the science and math components, you're not going to get a doctor. So let's find out what soil we're sowing into. And I'm going to tell you something that I've done. This is another strategy or another thing. God gave this to me. Before I had Chris, I was praying that he would have brown hair and blue eyes, and he did. I was praying, of course, that he would be musically talented, and he is. But there was one thing, it was kind of a silly prayer, but I prayed that he would be able to play the piano as easily as brushing his teeth. If you know him, or you know anything about his background, he's never had a music lesson in his life. And he plays the piano as easily as brushing his teeth. So God has answered prayers. Thank you, Jesus. Well, when he was born, there was a lot of prophecy over him. And the gist of it is, this is an anointed child. I mean, he's a week old. That baby's anointed. That baby's anointed. Well, I'm like, yes, amen, I receive it. One lady came up to me and she said, that child is called and anointed. And I said, yes and amen. And she said, so what are you going to do about it? I'm going to go bring him to the temple and leave him there and let the priest raise him, okay? And I just didn't, I was dumbfounded. And I said, I'm going to pray for him. I got to come up with an answer, right? This is me. I got to come up with an answer, right? And she said, this is your called and anointed. There are a lot of called and anointed people, right? It's not just Chris. She said, this is your called and anointed. And I went, okay. And I walked off like that. And I stayed like that for a while because I didn't know what she meant. So I started looking up in the Bible, called and anointed, called and anointed, called people, anointed people. I started looking it up. And there are several, many called, and David was called and anointed. Jesus was the anointed one, right? Well, these are characteristics. This is not his name. His name is Chris. And these are characteristics. So what I started doing, I'm serious. I'll be changing his diaper. And I would say, you're called and anointed, boy. You're called and anointed. Every chance I got, I'm like, come on, let's go. You're called and anointed. As he started talking, he talked very early. As he started talking, I would say, can you say, I'm called and anointed? And he would say it, you know. But as he got a little older, all I would do is I'd look at him and say, who are you? Called and anointed, Ma. Now, can I leave? And today, if any of you see him tomorrow in church, go up to him and ask him. Tell him Mom said to ask you, who are you? And he to this day would say, oh, called and anointed. Cody is my mighty man. And that sounds kind of like, you be wearing a cape or something? No. The mighty men that went with David, there were 3 specific mighty men. They carried out all of David's orders. In every battle that they had to do, they were specific and strategic and focused. And if you talk to Cody, don't interrupt him because he's focused and he wants to finish what he's saying. Cody is very, very meticulous. Everything's got to be just a certain way, almost to a perfectionist type problem. But he's my mighty man. Now, when Cliff came along, he came along and I was really too old to have him. I know I don't have, I got to hurry, but when I was in staff meeting, Mia was pregnant for Dana. Christine was pregnant for Corey. And Mama was pregnant for Cliff. And in the staff meeting, when I said, I'm going to need some time off in April, I'm going to need maternity leave, most of the people at the table almost fell off their chairs. So needless to say, I didn't know what I was getting. And the jury was out on Cliff for a long time. And I was like, what is his name? What is his name? What is his name? And the Lord showed me that he's bold and courageous. Now you gotta make sure you channel that bold and courageous, because just like Phinehas in the Bible, he could go off and on a tangent and kill all the people that are sinning and say, oh, wait, I wasn't supposed to do that? Oh, sorry. Cliff is my bold and courageous. And if you ask them, who are you? That's what they will say back to you. So I said it to them, then I got them to say it back to me. Now they have that in them. And if they ever went off to do something they shouldn't do, that was in the back of their mind. Ugh. Cody said, last year he was having some trouble at school. He's a teacher. And he said, Mom, integrity sucks. I got to do this because I got to keep my word, and I don't want to do this. Yeah, integrity sucks, but you got to do it. And I want to tell you, if you have small children, maybe you don't have any children yet, but I want you to write this down. And I want you to find the characteristics of the word that you want to see in your child and give them the name. And then speak it to them, prophesy it over them, and then get them to repeat it back to you. That is simply a strategy the Lord gave me, and it worked. And I share that with you. Keep in mind that your legacy does not mean your direct bloodline. It is your direct bloodline, but it doesn't have to be. The girl that met me in high school and invited me to church when I was a sophomore, I'm part of her legacy. Because without her, I wouldn't be here today. Presently, I am mentoring 3 ladies on their callings and their giftings for the ministry. They're part of my legacy. And then lastly, right here, we must see our legacy in the spirit. It may not look like it's very spiritual, but we need to see what our legacy looks like in the spirit. Then my last one is to be fearless. Now, I'm not a person who deals with fear very much. And if I do get afraid, I have just realized my reaction is to be aggravated and angry. I don't know if that's good, but I just realized, I just reacted like that because I was afraid. But I know a lot of people deal with fear. Told you Cody did. There's a very well-known verse, 2 Timothy 1:7. Can anybody quote it? God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and a sound mind. So let's just look at this one scripture. God has not given us the spirit of fear. So who gives it to us? The enemy gives it to us. So what do we need to look for when the spirit of fear comes to try to attack our legacy, try to attack us, and try to cut short our legacy line? The first thing we got to check for is power. Because he has not given us a spirit of fear, he's given us power. Philippians 4:13, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Acts 1:8, you shall receive power after the Holy Ghost has come upon you. Luke 10:19, behold, I give unto you power to tread on serpents and scorpions, and over all the power of the enemy, and nothing shall by any means hurt you. So when that spirit of fear, the first thing you have to look for is the power that you walk in. Second thing you have to look for is love. Does God love you, or has he stopped? Just because that spirit of fear has come upon you. 1 John 4:18 says so clearly, perfect love casts out fear. Whose love is more perfect? Then the third thing we need to check for is a sound mind. 2 Corinthians 10:5 talks about casting down those imaginations, those thoughts that raise themselves up against the knowledge of Christ. We're to pull those things down. 1 Corinthians 2:16 says we have the mind of Christ. We have it. We don't need to get it. We have it. So when that spirit of fear comes against you, you need to rise up as the bold, fierce lioness that you are and look for those things. Think about it. Everything that we do in the shadow and the shelter of the mighty lion, the lion of the tribe of Judah. He is always our protector, our defender. And we are moving and living and breathing in him. Everything we do is under his shelter. I told you I don't deal with fear very much, and I react to it probably strange. But as I told you a little while ago, my husband has very severe heart disease. A few years ago, he was going to possibly go for a heart transplant. That option is not on the table anymore. He has 2 vessels open that bring blood to and from his heart. He only has 2 open. He's weak. He has some other orthopedic problems and stuff like that. And now we're empty nesters because Cliff just got married, so I don't have any of my children at home anymore. This is not the empty nest that I had hoped for. This is not the empty nest I'd planned on. Because you see, now we maybe could do a little traveling together, but he can't. He's not healthy enough. So it's not exactly the picture that I had in my mind. And most people now don't even know what I deal with on a regular basis. And he knows that I'm sharing some of this with you. His response time is slower because of lack of blood flow. There's times when he'll forget what day it is. Or I'll wake up in the morning and get dressed, and I'm getting ready to leave, and I try not to wake him up. And I'm leaving. He'll go, where are you going? Where do I go every day? Where do I go every day? I'm going to work. Oh, thought you didn't work on Fridays. Well, okay, not officially, but I have things I have to do, so I'm going into work. Last week, Cliff got married on Saturday. I think it was Thursday. He usually calls me around 3 o'clock. Thank you. And he hadn't called me. So as I was leaving to go home, we usually touch base. Hey, I'm on my way home, need anything? Or what do you want to eat? Because I'm not cooking. That's the call most of the time. And I called, and I called, and I called, and I called. No answer. Now, typically when that happens, he's put his ringer off by accident. Which, that makes me get home and want to kill him. But I'm calling and calling. I literally, on my whole drive home, I just kept hitting redial, redial, redial. And as I got right by Chalmette High School, heading down to Muro, gripped me. What am I going to walk into? Is he laying on the floor? God, this can't happen because Cliff's getting married Saturday. He needs his daddy at the wedding. Things like that don't happen to me. And on my drive home, I didn't know what I was walking into. And unless the Lord intervenes, one day that's going to happen. Because there's nothing else they can do for him. But God. And I have to stay fierce, focused, and fearless. Because I'm the one doing the fighting. He don't have any fight. He's too weak. But I have to keep moving. I have to keep pressing. And I have to keep moving in spite of what my situation is like. And I know there are situations in this room that we're not aware of. Most of you aren't even aware of that. You don't know what I deal with on a regular. You know my husband's sick, many of you, but you don't know what I deal with on a regular basis. There's times when he gets up to take a shower so we can go somewhere, and the shower wears him out so we can't. I deal with this every day. But God, if it wasn't for him, I would be a noodle and I'd be useless. I'd be completely useless. Ladies, give out those magnets that I have. I had these made. I hope we have enough for everybody. And it's simply Proverbs 31:25. She is clothed in strength and dignity, and she laughs without fear of the future. I am standing on that word. You can take your magnet, put it on your fridge, whatever you want to do with it, but I want you to memorize it. I want you to get it in your spirit. That I am clothed in strength and dignity, and I can laugh without fear of the future. I'm closing. I'm talk about the lioness quickly. With her paw, she can extract her claws, and she can take down the biggest animal and bring it home for dinner. With those same claws, she retracts them, and she plays with her young. It's us, ladies. We have the strength to stand and do what we need to do because we have way more authority than we're actually walking in. But then we can be as gentle as we need to be to minister to someone, to take care of our legacy, to take care of our line. The lioness has sharp teeth that she can take down, she can rip an animal to shreds to feed her family. But you know what, those same teeth, she picks up the cub by the neck. How does that happen? How does she not rip the cub apart? We can be strong and powerful and focused and fierce and gentle as doves. Leave someone marked by your life. Leave someone marked in your legacy. Leave them with a mark of the Holy Spirit out of your life. Leave them with that mark. And ladies, last but not least, don't abort your legacy. Your legacy story is being written right now. Don't abort it. Don't cut it short. Don't get so discouraged and down on the prayer. The answer is not there. You know, we can abort our legacy. We can cut it off. You know, I'm tired of fighting. I'm not doing this serving Jesus anymore. You're aborting your legacy when you do that. And you may kill any chance of your legacy serving God. Don't abort your legacy. The Lord spoke that to me in the middle of the night when I woke up, and he said, don't abort your legacy. He kind of said that loud. He didn't whisper that one. And I'm like, oh, what do you mean by that? So I'm going to leave you with this. Pray on purpose, love on purpose, and live on purpose. Your legacy depends on it. Thank you, ladies. We're going to have a little round and rectangular table discussion.